Stay away from Princess. Zarash reads minds, and she's driven 3 attendants mad. They warned Captain Sarah Chen, but she walked toward the isolated woman anyway. Captain Sarah Chen had known about the Volanthi royal family's reputation since her assignment arrived via encrypted calm link. But warnings alone were not enough to keep a military captain away from fulfilling her duty. She adjusted her uniform one last time and stepped through the threshold of the Grand Volanthi Palace, ignoring the murmurs that followed in her wake. Captain Chen, Minister Kovath called out as soon as she entered the reception hall. He was an imposing figure with sharp features and a stern demeanor. "It's good to see you arrived safely." Sarah nodded politely. "Thank you for having me, Minister. I understand my presence here is necessary for diplomatic relations between our worlds." "Yes," Kovath said hesitantly, looking over his shoulder before leaning in closer. "Captain Chen, let me warn you again, Princess Zara is a unique case." He paused to see if Sarah was listening carefully. "Tell me something I don't know already," she replied evenly, her eyes scanning the room where several diplomats and officials from both worlds stood awkwardly apart from one another. Minister Kovath sighed deeply. He's been trained since birth in controlling her telepathy, but it isn't easy for someone of her status to manage such a power without incident. Sarah nodded again, already sensing the underlying tension among those gathered here tonight. She had heard similar stories about Princess Zara from other diplomats who'd preceded her, how some Volanthi nobles believed she was unstable and dangerous. "Captain Chen," another official interrupted, "you must understand that any encounter with Her Highness might be unpredictable." Sarah raised an eyebrow, but did not let the nervous tone of the speaker deter her. She had a job to do. It didn't matter if it involved talking to someone labeled as unpredictable or orders were clear facilitate smooth relations between their worlds. "Then I shall proceed with caution," she replied firmly before moving away from Kovath towards one of the large windows overlooking the palace grounds. Her gaze drifted across the crowded room, searching for any sign of Princess Zara. There, across the vast hall, stood a figure that somehow seemed out of place amidst all the finery and pomp. Princess Zara Volanthis herself. She was dressed in simple attire that set her apart from those around her, who wore lavish robes adorned with intricate patterns indicative of their high status within Volanthi society. Sarah watched as other guests avoided eye contact or outright turned away when they caught sight of the princess, some even whispering urgently to one another while looking back at Zara over their shoulders. The scene reminded Sarah uncomfortably of a childhood memory from her home planet, being shunned by peers for not fitting in. "Your Highness," she murmured aloud more to herself than anyone else present as her eyes locked with those haunting silver ones across the room, piercing through any illusions about what should be and revealing raw vulnerability. Instead, "May I join you?" The question escaped her lips before she could reconsider whether it was wise under the circumstances. Zara's violet hair cascaded down like a waterfall over delicate shoulders, contrasting sharply against pale lavender skin that seemed almost ethereal in the flickering candlelight of the palace interior. Her silver eyes widened slightly at Sarah's unexpected approach, an expression so rare and fleeting on Zara's usually guarded face made it clear how unusual this moment truly was. Zara hesitated for a heartbeat before offering her hand towards Captain Chen with grace that defied any notion she might be unstable or dangerous as others claimed. "Captain," her voice sounded hesitant yet hopeful all at once. Sarah took the offered gesture without faltering, shaking Zara's cold but elegant fingers in return. She didn't know what exactly made this moment significant beyond the obvious truth of being being seen together by so many people here tonight who would gossip endlessly about it tomorrow and possibly forever. You aren't afraid? Princess Zara asked quietly, as they stood close enough for Sarah to see her shimmering silver eyes sparkle with an unexpected emotion, one she didn't recognize, but certainly did not want to miss out on. Sarah shrugged nonchalantly. Should I be? For the first time in what felt like years, perhaps decades, even under alien standards of life, Princess Zara Valanthes no longer heard fear echoing through minds around her. Not from this human captain who seemed willing enough to see past labels and rumors surrounding her royal status. She saw genuine curiosity instead, and something else entirely new to kindness. With that simple exchange made between them across a room filled with wary eyes and cautious whispers, Sarah had unknowingly opened up worlds of possibilities neither ever imagined possible under such circumstances. Yet here they were standing side by side in this moment where nothing mattered except the connection just formed amidst uncertainty and doubt cast by others all around them. Captain Sarah Chen found herself standing alone at a corner of the Grand Valanthe Palace gardens, her boots crunching softly on the gravel path as she waited for Princess Zara Valanthes to join her from inside the main hall. The air was cool and crisp despite the warm glow coming through tall windows that illuminated clusters of flowers in vivid colors. Red roses and purple irises intertwined like a tapestry woven with life itself. Zara emerged finally, gliding into view as if carried by unseen currents rather than walking on her own 2 feet. Her movements were fluid yet restrained. She held herself with an almost regal posture, despite the simple elegance of her attire tonight unadorned except for delicate silver jewelry that caught and reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. Captain Chen, Zara began, pausing near Sarah before continuing down a winding path toward a secluded area away from prying eyes. Would you care to join me here? Sarah nodded without hesitation and fell into step beside the princess as they walked deeper into the garden's embrace. The cool air stirred gently around them, whispering secrets of its own that neither could hear, but which somehow seemed less invasive than those within their minds. Thank you for coming, Zara said quietly once she felt confident enough about the privacy provided by nature itself rather than artificial barriers erected by society. It was my pleasure. I think it's a beautiful night, don't you? Sarah replied with genuine warmth in her voice while glancing up at the stars peeking through gaps between tall trees overhead. Princess Zara nodded absently, as if lost momentarily within thoughts only she could access privately now that they were alone together under this serene sky. Indeed, she murmured almost to herself, though turning back slightly toward Sarah after a momentary lapse of silence. I've been told many times throughout my life how dangerous I am. Sarah tilted her head thoughtfully at the candid admission before gently interrupting with another question, genuinely curious yet cautious not to intrude unnecessarily upon deeply personal territory. And what makes you feel that way? She asked softly. Zara sighed then, a sound laden heavily with an emotional weight decades long, but lightened somewhat now by sharing this burden openly with someone who seemed willing enough to listen without prejudice or fear dictating every word exchanged here tonight between them. They warned me, the princess explained slowly, as though carefully choosing each one for its truth rather than any embellishment of her own fears, to stay away from others, because I am different. Yet no one truly understands what being different means to someone who hears everyone's thoughts constantly. Sarah's eyebrows rose slightly at this revelation, eyes widening with understanding dawning across her features as realization set in regarding the unique challenges Zara faced daily due simply for possessing abilities unlike anyone else around her. "I hear your mind too," Princess Zara confessed suddenly, after another momentary hesitation. "Everything you think and feel, it doesn't stop." Sarah stopped walking then, turning fully toward Zara, with a mixture of surprise and empathy playing across her face, as comprehension filled the space between them like an unspoken bond formed through shared vulnerability. "And what do I hear from your mind?" she asked carefully, after swallowing hard against sudden lump forming in throat at this intimacy being offered so willingly despite potential risks involved for both parties now stepping into unknown territory together tonight. Zara's eyes drifted closed briefly before reopening again, shimmering with unshed tears as she answered Sarah's query honestly and openly. "You think my silver eyes are pretty," she started softly, almost shyly, like a confession of her own rather than an accusation or burden cast upon another unfairly perhaps for so long. "You're wondering if I enjoy spicy food too." A small smile played across Zara's lips at this last thought before continuing again more seriously now into territory less trivial, but equally revealing about nature of their unexpected connection forming under these stars tonight far away from judge mental eyes peering through windows back in palace halls. "And you're mentally reviewing your mission brief," Princess Zara added with a hint of amusement coloring her voice as she opened herself further despite any reservations remaining unspoken still lingering beneath surface level perhaps between them both now amidst growing trust born out of mutual respect rather than fear or suspicion dictating terms here tonight under moonlight and stars alone. Sarah laughed softly at this assessment, finding it both accurate yet oddly relieving somehow to have such thoughts read aloud so clearly by someone else finally able to understand nuances within her own psyche too. "That's somewhat embarrassing actually," she admitted with a hint of self-deprecating humor shining through in tone, though eyes, never losing their steady gaze, locked onto Zara's now as they continued walking deeper still into garden where no one else could eavesdrop upon this rare moment between them both freely sharing parts unseen yet felt deeply within hearts and minds. Zara almost seemed to flinch away from Sarah's laughter initially before finding herself blinking rapidly back, tears of joy mingled with relief washing over her face now amidst realization finally sinking in fully just how unique this experience truly was compared everything else ever encountered before throughout lifetime so far. "You aren't afraid," she whispered nearly breathlessly, as if grasping tightly onto lifeline thrown suddenly across chasms separating two souls otherwise destined for isolation and loneliness respectively due simply different ways each processed reality itself. Sarah placed a reassuring hand lightly upon Zara's shoulder, then after seeing Princess visibly struggling internally against tide of emotions welling up within her own heart now perhaps more fully than ever before here under cover night air away from prying eyes, judging them unfairly based merely on superficial appearances, rather genuine connections forged through mutual understanding and respect instead tonight. "Not afraid at all," Sarah assured gently yet firmly with honest sincerity shining forth clearly in every word spoken between them here together finally, amidst garden, where no one else could intrude upon sacred space carved out purely for purpose of knowing oneself better within company, another who seemed willing enough see past facade society erected around Princess, rather than dismissing value simply due to reputation or rumors spreading unchecked throughout palace walls instead. Then why? Princess Zara asked almost desperately now, seeking clarity, amidst confusion often swirling endlessly without resolution left unresolved too long perhaps among countless others surrounding her otherwise daily life thus far. Why do they fear me so much if I've never hurt anyone? Sarah shook her head slowly in response, then after reflecting deeply upon question posed to them both here, under cover starlight tonight far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls where rumors spread unchecked, without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from mental eyes judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. I don't know, Sarah admitted honestly then, but I do believe it's time for those around us to see past fear and learn true meaning of connection formed not through prejudice, but mutual understanding rooted deeply within hearts, rather minds left clouded by misconceptions. Thus far, Princess Zara smiled tremulously at this admission shared openly between them now amidst garden, where no one else could intrude upon sacred space carved out purely for purpose of knowing oneself better within company. Another who seemed willing enough see past facade society erected around her rather than dismissing value simply due to reputation or rumors spreading unchecked throughout palace walls instead. And with that, Sarah turned back toward path leading deeper still into heart of garden, where no one else could eavesdrop upon rare moment between them both freely sharing parts unseen yet felt deeply within hearts and minds tonight, far away from mental eyes judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. A&D Captain Sarah Chen stood outside the towering, ivy-covered stone walls of Princess Zara Velantha's personal tower at the heart of Velanthe royal grounds. The moonlight bathed the ancient structure in a silvery glow that seemed to whisper secrets and mysteries from an age-long past, a fitting place for someone as enigmatic as Zara. Despite repeated warnings from high-ranking officials like Minister Kovath, Sarah felt compelled to break free of the imposed isolation around her alien counterpart. Today was no different. She would face this challenge head-on once more, driven by a mixture of duty and genuine concern for Princess Zara's well-being, a feeling that had deepened with every conversation. As soon as her footsteps echoed against the cold stone floors inside the tower Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of sadness emanating from within. The silence was almost deafening, punctuated only by distant murmurs that seemed to echo off empty corridors. It made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up, a stark reminder of how Zara had been confined here for years. Princess Zara waited in one of the tower's many chambers, her long violet hair cascading down over delicate shoulders like a waterfall of silk. Her haunting silver eyes locked onto Sarah as soon as she entered, filled with a mixture of hope and dread that made Captain Chen's heart ache. This was no place for anyone to live. Captain, Zara greeted softly, rising from the small wooden chair by her window that offered a rare glimpse into the outside world. Beyond these walls, a view both beautiful yet suffocatingly oppressive due to its very nature of restriction rather than freedom. You should not be here. Sarah approached steadily despite knowing she shouldn't be intruding upon what was clearly meant as Princess Zara's haven from her prison reality. "I know," Sarah replied, placing a reassuring hand on the elegant yet frail-looking armrest nearby, a subtle gesture to convey support and solidarity in defiance of official protocol. "This is my life," Princess Zara explained somberly. After a moment's silence passed between them like an unspoken truth about existence being cruel at times more than kind. "They believe keeping me isolated keeps everyone safe, but it does nothing for peace within." Sarah swallowed hard, feeling the weight of such responsibility rest heavily on her shoulders now that she was aware of Princess Zara's plight, their loneliness and desperate desire to connect with someone genuine amidst all this forced solitude. "I understand," Sarah assured gently yet firmly. "But I also believe there must be another way forward than hiding away forever behind these walls." Zara met Sarah's eyes then, searching for any trace of falsehood or pity within her human companion's gaze, but finding none, only sincere empathy and genuine care that shone through clearly in every word spoken between them here together finally, amidst tower where no one else could intrude upon sacred space carved out purely for purpose of knowing oneself better within company. Another who seemed willing enough see past facade society erected around Princess, rather than dismissing value simply due to reputation or rumors spreading unchecked throughout palace walls instead. "I've never had a friend," Zara confessed, her voice breaking slightly under the weight of those words. "Everyone's thoughts here are like shadows, and my mind fearful and mistrustful." Sarah felt tears well up at this admission, understanding all too deeply how isolating such an existence could be, even among one's own kind. "And that is what worries me," Princess Zara continued softly, but with a determination glinting through her silver eyes now. "I want to know more about your world, Sarah, about Earth and its people." Sarah nodded firmly in response, then after reflecting deeply upon question posed between them both here amidst tower far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls where rumors spread unchecked, without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess, stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice, casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from mental eyes judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. "Then let's start there," Sarah suggested, reaching out hesitantly before embracing Princess Zara briefly but warmly, a rare show of physical affection that brought visible relief and a small smile onto her companion's face. "Tell me about your dreams for the future." Zara leaned back slightly at this unexpected intimacy, then after reflecting deeply upon words shared between them both here amidst tower far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls where rumors spread unchecked, without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess, stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice, casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from mental eyes judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. "I dream of seeing the galaxy," Princess Zara began softly, then, her voice filled with a longing that made Sarah's heart ache all over again, of experiencing cultures and worlds beyond what these walls can ever show me. Sarah listened intently, absorbing every detail shared between them both here amidst tower, far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls where rumors spread unchecked, without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess, stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice, casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from judge mental eyes, judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. "And you write poems?" Sarah prompted gently after a while, remembering snippets of conversations had already shared between them that hinted at this artistic side within Princess Zara, yet never fully explored until now, perhaps amidst tower where no one else could intrude upon sacred space carved out purely for purpose of knowing oneself better within company. Another, who seemed willing enough, see past facade society erected around her rather than dismissing value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout palace walls instead. "Yes," Zara confirmed, a hint of pride touching those silver eyes now, "but I've never shown them to anyone." "Why not?" Sarah asked curiously, then after reflecting deeply upon words shared between them both here amidst tower, far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls where rumors spread unchecked, without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess, stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice, casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from judge mental eyes, judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. Zara hesitated, but then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I fear they would mock my works, yet only through the lens of who I am rather than what lies on the page." Sarah reached across and took Princess Zara's hand in hers firmly now amidst tower where no one else could intrude upon sacred space carved out purely for purpose of knowing oneself better within company. Another, who seemed willing enough, see past facade society erected around her rather than dismissing value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout palace walls instead. "I will be your reader," she promised softly. Then, after reflecting deeply upon words shared between them both here amidst tower, far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls where rumors spread unchecked, without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess, stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice, casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from judge mental eyes, judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. "Thank you," Princess Zara replied, her voice trembling, but filled with gratitude now amidst tower where no one else could intrude upon sacred space carved out purely for purpose of knowing oneself better within company. another who seemed willing enough to see past facade society erected around her rather than dismissing value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout palace walls instead. Sarah nodded firmly in response, then after reflecting deeply upon words shared between them both here, amidst tower, far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls where rumors spread unchecked, without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess, stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice, casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from judge. Mental eyes judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. And I will share my world with you, Sarah added, then after reflecting deeply upon words shared between them both here amidst tower, far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls, where rumors spread unchecked without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess, stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice, casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from judge. Mental eyes judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. Thank you, Sarah, Zara replied softly, then after reflecting deeply upon words shared between them both here amidst tower, far away from prying eyes back, within palace halls where rumors spread unchecked without accountability, perhaps too often based purely on superficial impressions rather than genuine truths beneath surface level, thus revealing themselves now amidst shared vulnerability between captain and princess, stepping together finally into unknown territory forged through mutual respect rather prejudice, casting shadows over potential brighter future both deserved equally, among others surrounding them otherwise far away from judge. Mental eyes judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. As Sarah prepared herself mentally for the difficult road ahead, she couldn't help but feel a sense of purpose growing within her heart, a feeling that came with knowing Princess Zara now wasn't just an alien princess confined by walls and whispers and more. She was someone's friend, and that friendship could change everything. But first, they needed to navigate through this world of fear and misunderstanding together. Outside the tower's confines, Minister Kavath stood observing from a distance, his eyes narrowing slightly as he witnessed Captain Sarah Chen leaving with Princess Zara, in Tohai's concern growing by the day at how close these two had become despite orders forbidding such interactions. For if anyone were to truly understand the princess, and perhaps even gain her loyalty and trust, it would be devastating for those who sought power through fear and isolation. Kavath's thoughts turned dark as he began planning his next move, something that would keep Zara away from Sarah once again. He couldn't allow their bond to grow stronger. It threatened everything Kavath held dear within the palace walls now far away from judge. Mental eyes judging unfairly upon value simply due to reputation, or rumors spreading unchecked throughout society as whole instead. And with those final thoughts, Minister Kavath turned and walked away amidst tower where no one else could intrude upon sacred space, carved out purely for purpose of knowing oneself better within company. Another, who seemed willing enough see past facade society erected around her rather than dismissing value simply due to reputation or rumors spreading unchecked throughout palace walls instead. His plans were set in motion, though Sarah and Zara remained blissfully unaware until it was too late. A&D Captain Sarah Chen leaned against a window of Princess Zara Valentha's tower, her eyes scanning the bustling Valanthian city below. Despite Kovath's warnings and the palace's disdain for their growing relationship, Sarah felt a sense of calm that only came from being close to someone who truly understood her. "Zara," she began, turning to face the princess, "if anyone ever tries to separate us again." Before Sarah could finish, alarms blared through the tower's intercom system, cutting off any words with their sharp urgency. Zara's eyes widened as she reached for a nearby console. Her fingers danced across its surface, her pale lavender skin glowing faintly under the sudden tension. "Kovath," she spat out, clearly identifying who was behind this interruption from his manipulative ways and political maneuvers. "What's he done now?" "He won't get away with it," Sarah promised grimly as Zara's expression shifted into determination rather than fear for once. The princess nodded firmly before turning back to the console. "We need to act fast, but we must be cautious. Kovath is clever. I don't want him to see this move coming." Sarah watched closely as Zara's fingers moved swiftly over a series of controls, her eyes narrowing with each decision she made. After moments that felt like an eternity, the princess turned back to Sarah. "Kovath has fabricated evidence against you," Zara said grimly. "He claims Captain Chen is using mental resistance techniques to hide your true thoughts from me." Sarah's heart sank, but her resolve remained unbroken. "I would never do that." "I know," Zara assured with a gentle yet firm voice. Before either woman could react further, the door to their chamber burst open, revealing Kovath flanked by armed guards. His eyes narrowed as he locked gazes with Sarah, his expression cold and calculating, nothing short of what one might expect from someone who viewed Sarah's presence next to Zara as a threat. "Captain Chen," he began coolly, but clearly intending to instill fear rather than offer any formality or respect in addressing her rank. "Your actions have brought dishonor upon the royal family." "You're wrong, Kovath." Sarah stood tall and steady despite his intimidations, knowing that truth was always more powerful than false accusations. "Princess Zara confirms your claims," he continued before turning to face her directly, emphasizing every word as if challenging any denial outright. "She's been manipulated by you. Your testimony is compromised." Zara's eyes flashed with anger and pain, but she remained composed. "No one can manipulate my thoughts," he asserted firmly. She turned back to Sarah, her silver gaze piercing through Kovath's lies effortlessly. "Your Highness," Sarah interjected calmly, "I've never tried hiding anything from you." But before Zara could counter or confirm this claim in any way, the door slammed shut again as Kovath and his guards swiftly left after making their point clear. Sarah's days of trusted service were over now, under accusations that had no merit but held enough sway to silence her. The princess's expression tightened further at seeing Sarah being led away by other armed soldiers. "Wait!" Zara cried out desperately, rushing towards the door only for an unseen force to drag back forcefully before she could reach it herself. She swung around with pure fury burning brightly in those silver eyes now directed squarely onto Kovath, who was still lingering just outside her line of sight, but clearly within earshot and able to hear every word exchanged here. "Kovath!" she roared, voice trembling only slightly from restrained emotions, rather than fear, as it once used to do their history together. "'Tis innocent." I can hear her thoughts. There is no deception. A chilling silence followed before Kovath stepped forward again with a smug smirk on his face, completely unfazed by Zara's outburst or the clear evidence she had just presented against him. "Her Highness," he replied smoothly but dismissively, "is compromised herself now by this human's manipulation clearly seen here today." He gestured towards Sarah being dragged away helplessly, without any sign of resistance other than her silent protests and grim determination set firmly in place despite everything happening around them both. Zara's body trembled with rage as she struggled against the unseen forces holding her back, a battle that left her breathless, but still defiant. "No!" she screamed again, tears forming in those haunting silver eyes now filled more with frustration than despair or fear. Ever since meeting Sarah for first time, despite all rumors surrounding her, but Kovath's plans had been too well laid already to easily disrupt at this point. "She is a danger," he insisted loudly enough that it carried over through the corridor even after soldiers dragged Sarah away completely, leaving both women alone, once again separated forcibly rather than merely isolated by others' ignorance and prejudice. With one final desperate plea, Zara's voice cracked, but remained clear as she shouted to Sarah's retreating figure, "Don't worry, I will find a way." It was more of an unspoken vow between them now that could not be broken easily despite circumstances working against it at every turn imaginable here within palace walls. As the door slammed shut for real this time, cutting off any hope of immediate rescue or escape, even if Sarah herself refused to give up on finding a way out from inside prison cell where Kovath had placed her, now alone and uncertain yet undeniably defiant given all events that unfolded today, amidst accusations based purely on fears rather than facts. Alone in the stark confines of her newly assigned cell, Captain Sarah Chen leaned against cold stone walls. The space was small but familiar, a place for reflection more so than punishment at this moment, as she replayed recent events over and over again, trying to make sense out of chaos orchestrated by Kovath, clearly aimed against both women now. Yet despite everything that had transpired, Tadia, and all the doubts others might hold or judgments passed based merely on appearances rather than actual evidence, Sarah couldn't bring herself to regret anything. She had chosen kindness when many would have feared and shunned, believing firmly in Princess Zara's worth beyond rumors spread by malicious tongues among palace corridors. As she stared into darkness that enveloped her now isolated corner of Valanthian society, Sarah smiled faintly at the thought of being imprisoned for standing up to fear rather than letting it dictate actions or betray someone who needed understanding and support despite what everyone else claimed about them. That smile was both sad but also hopeful, knowing full well she would never abandon Zara no matter how many walls Kovath tried throwing between them. Sarah's thoughts drifted back once more towards Princess Zara, wondering where the young woman stood now amidst turmoil caused by fabricated evidence and manipulation aimed directly at separating two souls who had found solace together rather than isolation. They both knew too well before meeting each other, under circumstances most wouldn't understand unless walking in their shoes first. Alone, but not truly isolated anymore due to bonds forged despite barriers erected around them, Sarah vowed silently she would do everything within her power to break through those walls again, even when it seemed impossible given where Kovath's machinations had left both of them now. And days passed since Sarah was dragged away by Kovath's soldiers, and Zara Valanthes found herself imprisoned in a tower room, far from any semblance of human contact. The walls were cold stone, and she could hear faint echoes of fear and whispers that permeated every corner of the palace below. But there was no sound within her prison cell, nothing but silence. Princess Zara sat alone by an unlit fireplace as hours turned to days. Her lavender skin glowed dimly under candlelight when it flickered sporadically through cracked windows high above her head. She had never felt so isolated, even more than the times she was locked away for being different, because this time there were no servants or guards who would secretly listen at doors hoping to hear something of value from their queen-to-be. Her thoughts drifted back to Sarah Chen, a human captain with sharp eyes and an unwavering spirit. Zara had been warned countless times by both her people and the humans that she should stay away, but Sarah never wavered in her kindness or understanding towards Zara's unique predicament. The princess felt a deep connection forming between them, a bond stronger than anyone could understand just from rumors. Kovath's voice echoed in her mind once more as he insisted on Sarah being executed for espionage. He was spreading lies, attempting to control the king through fear rather than truth and justice. And now that Sarah had been captured under false pretenses, Zara knew she had only a short time left before Kovath succeeded entirely. For the first time in her life, Princess Zara stood up against her own fears. She decided it was time for action instead of passivity. Using all her telepathic power, which usually manifested as an overwhelming cacophony of thoughts from others around her, she focused inward to reach out mentally to every servant and guard within the palace walls. "I need your help," Zara thought fiercely but softly, enough not to draw immediate attention. "I know Kovath lies about Sarah. Help me prove it." One by one, servants who doubted Kovath's word began to respond silently from all corners of the castle. Some had overheard whispered conversations and realized that Princess Zara was indeed being manipulated for political gain. Guards whose minds were filled with mistrust towards both humans and Valanthe due to Kovath's propaganda started waver slightly when approached by this mental voice. Zara moved quickly, focusing on one mind after another, until she pieced together enough evidence against Kovath himself. He had been spreading rumors about her for years, isolating Princess Zara so that he could control the king without fear of psychic insight interfering with his machinations from within their own ranks. With this information in hand, though unable to physically hold any pieces, Zara turned towards Sarah's cell again, knowing she needed a way out. She mentally called out desperately, over every telepathic connection available, "I know the truth about Kovath and Sarah's innocence." Sarah heard it immediately, a voice calling through her mind like nothing before in her life. It was soft, but strong, filled with determination and hope, even as circumstances seemed hopeless. "Zara?" she whispered, leaning closer to the cell wall, where a crack allowed some contact between their minds despite physical barriers separating them completely now. "I know about Kovath," Zara replied mentally back through that tiny gap in stone. "I have proof of his lies, but I can't reach anyone important here from up here." Sarah clenched her fists against cold bars, feeling rage and helplessness boiling inside out at once. But then she smiled faintly towards the wall, as if seeing Princess Zara standing there beside her instead. "Can you get to the guards' minds?" Sarah asked calmly through their mental link despite anger simmering underneath calm exterior. "Make them see what Kovath is doing." Zara hesitated briefly before nodding silently within her own mind space, realizing she was about to take an unprecedented step, projecting thoughts rather than simply receiving endless streams of everyone else's chaos. But for Sarah, if anyone could break through these walls created by fear, and had it, would be with such efforts. "Okay," Zara agreed resolutely, as if speaking aloud instead of silently within herself. "I'll try." Sarah watched the candlelight flicker higher inside Princess Zara's cell beyond stone bars separating them entirely, and Dee felt a surge of hope rising along with it despite all odds stacked against their fragile alliance, forged amidst lies and mistrust. A&D Zara's eyes flared silver as she focused harder than ever before, her mental voice resonating like a thunderclap through every corner of the palace. She was no longer just listening to the chaotic cacophony of thoughts around her. She projected them back, raw truth and unadulterated reality about Kovath's treachery. "Everyone," Zara thought firmly but clearly, "listen." The words echoed in minds as if spoken out loud by a deep resonant voice. Servants dropped their trays mid-sentence. Guards froze with weapons at the ready, and even King Velen himself paused mid-step towards his throne room. Kovath's manipulations had been meticulously laid over. Decadish was seen everywhere as a loyal advisor, but now there was undeniable evidence of betrayal. In every mind came flashes, hushed conversations about Princess Zara's influence, whispered schemes to isolate her further from power by framing her for crimes she never committed, secret bribes and agreements made at night under moonlight rather than in broad daylight. The entire web of deceit unraveled before everyone's eyes, as if lifted directly from the minds of those involved. Guard Captain Thorne felt a sudden chill run down his spine as he realized the truth about Kovath, who had been whispering dark plots into his ear for years to keep Princess Zara far away from the throne. "Kovath lied," Thorne whispered aloud, though none other heard it but within him. His mind reeled. Servant Illyra dropped her serving tray on silverware with a clatter as she saw her own fear of Princess Zara and her true kindness mixed together in memories. "She only wanted to be understood," Illyra murmured under breath while rushing out from kitchen towards the throne room where it was all happening now. King Velen himself staggered slightly, his steps faltering on polished marble floors as he saw through Kovath's eyes into his own advisor's betrayal over decades of service. "This is not what I thought," King Velen said aloud, stopping mid-pace outside Grand Hall doors. Kovath turned sharply at sound of approaching footsteps to see Thorne and other loyal guards flanking him with grim determination on their faces. He tried to run, but stumbled upon realization that every guard had seen through his deception. Their minds filled now not just fear or mistrust towards Princess Zara. Rather, they knew what she did for them today. "Kovath!" King Velen's voice boomed inside Grand Hall, where crowd gathered around him suddenly silent. Kovath turned back to face King with desperate plea on lips, but was seized from behind by loyal guards before he could say a word. Sarah felt it instantly. A wave of relief followed immediately by another. Zara's touch in mind, warm and calming despite chaos surrounding them both physically, outside cell walls now. "She did it," Sarah whispered towards crack between bars where she knew Princess Zara stood just beyond reach. "Huiju," came reply barely above breath, though clear within their mental connection. King Velen stepped forward into Grand Hall, finally turning full attention to Princess, who stood there with calm dignity despite moments of crisis that had swirled around palace recently. "Princess Zara." "No, father." Princess Zara interrupted gently yet firmly, stepping away slightly from guards still holding Kovath bound, as evidence against him was clear now for all eyes, and minds alike in royal court. I never wanted to be feared, she continued softly but clearly, enough so all could hear even through sudden hush of crowd. I only ever wish someone would listen really see me past what they believe I am. Sarah stepped beside Princess, then, without a moment's hesitation, taking hand, firmly yet respectfully, within own grasp in plain sight for everyone there to witness, public display of trust and solidarity between human diplomat and Volanthi royal. She is the kindest, gentlest person I've ever met, Sarah said aloud clearly, with no hint of uncertainty despite recent upheaval around them all. I'm proud to stand beside her. King Villain looked down at daughter, for first time in years really seeing past his own fears built up over decades regarding uncontrollable power within Princess' mind. He saw instead only a young woman desperate for connection and understanding, who had just saved kingdom from disaster through bravery rather than manipulation, as rumors once suggested. I am so sorry, King Valen said aloud, looking directly into eyes of daughter now standing confidently, though perhaps nervously, before him with Sarah by her side, openly supportive ally. Can you forgive my foolish father? King Velen continued softly, but clearly enough, reaching out hand towards Princess, who looked up in surprise at sudden offer. For a moment, time seemed to pause as Princess Zara met gaze of royal father. Then she stepped forward into reach, offering tentati. The smile, rather than immediate forgiveness or reconciliation, built over years of misunderstanding and mistrust between them both. Of course I can forgive you, Princess Zara replied gently yet clearly enough so all around palace felt weight lift off air with sudden hope. Months later, life in Volanthi Palace had changed drastically since that moment when truth about Kavat's betrayal was revealed through minds of every person inside royal court. Wall servants and guards alike now treated Princess more kindly, knowing her true nature rather than rumors spread by manipulative advisor over years. Zara served openly as trusted advisor to King Vale, and using telepathic power for justice instead fearing it like everyone else once did before. Sarah's diplomatic assignment that brought human captain into contact with royal family remained permanent now. She realized how much good could come from working closely alongside Princess despite initial warnings about dangers posed by psychic powers within Volanthi court. Some things were worth staying around for, like people you trusted implicitly, even if whole world told you otherwise. Sometimes, Sarah reflected aloud once while walking grounds of Palace Garden beside Princess Zara, who smiled back knowingly. The monster everyone fears turns out to be someone simply waiting for the right person sit next them. And in that simple act of taking hand and standing together against forces trying to tear kingdom apart, they found a bond deeper than any language or culture ever could divide between species.